Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast, where we provide immersive, essential, and evergreen strategies for the novice cryptocurrency investor. How you doing? I am one half of your host, Broke Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, Crypto Ewok. We got a lot to get to tonight. It's been another interesting week in crypto. The beginning of this week, we've seen new lows for Bitcoin here in this bear market. So a lot to get to tonight. Going to be interesting. And obviously the title or the thumbnail, I should say, of tonight's podcast on the stream here on YouTube is it a good time to buy Hex right now? We're seeing Hex dip below 3 cents consistently for the first time in quite some time. So, a lot to talk about. But first off, Ewok, how you doing? How you feeling about the markets? And how you feeling about here in America? Thanksgiving is tomorrow morning. It is Thanksgiving Eve, the biggest drinking night of the year. But we're both stone sober right now.
Yes, we are. I am. I got lots of work to do getting ready for Thanksgiving. But yeah, I mean, it's getting interesting. I think the markets are doing what we said they would do. Couple dips here, waiting for that big capitulation event. Who knows what it's going to be? We have a couple options now, so let's
true.
Like my buddy says here, get your popcorn ready.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's been, it's hard. We'll get into this, but it's hard to imagine a bigger capitulation event than an entire exchange going down, which just happened a mere 2 weeks ago. It seems like it's been an eternity because that's how crypto is. But before we get into the show, I just kind of let you know where you can find us. Obviously, if you're watching right now, you know already, but I am Broke Boy Crypto, BOI. You can find me there on YouTube and on Twitter. And Crypto Ewok, where can everybody find you?
I'm Crypto Ewok everywhere as well. Twitter, YouTube.
Easy enough.
Easy enough.
Easy enough. So as we speak right now, we have Bitcoin trading at about 16K and 556, and then Ethereum is at 1181 right now. So Bitcoin settling in steadily here the last few days under that previous bear market low from back in June that we marked as the bottom. And many people, which, none of us really know what's going to happen. So, let's not act like we do. But so many people were, hey, FYI, bottom's in. Bottom was back in June. A lot of people thought that. It has not happened. It's time for us to take a victory lap, Ewok. We talked about it last week. We were both siding with November sometime after the midterms. And by right now, Thanksgiving, if you check back a few weeks ago, that we thought this is where the new lows would be. Now, we're not Nostradamus. We just happen to be right. But there were a lot of things over the course of the year that would have led one to believe that it could be the lows would be ultimately in November. But I'll be honest with you, and we're going to get into it here tonight, I'm probably changing my tune on that because I think it might be December now. So, just the status of where things are. It does feel like there is one more event possibly coming. I don't know if it necessarily is going to be as big as an FTX, pilled out orgy bankruptcy. But it's going to be something, and it's crypto, so you never know. But Ewok, how are you feeling about, I don't even know what the exact low is. We've hit it so many times recently. I don't know, but it's somewhere in the 15Ks. We hit it on Monday, I believe. Do you think that's the low? What do you think we see here the last week or so in November? Maybe it's pointless to even ask that, but we still have about 5 weeks left in the year of 2022. So what do you think we're looking at here?
Yeah, I don't think that's the bottom. Obviously, we've been saying for quite a while, at least 11K, if not 10K, possibly even lower, depending on what the capitulation event is, which, like we said, we have a couple options right now. It could be the whole Genesis thing, which could possibly make Grayscale have to liquidate their 634,000 Bitcoin. It might not be. Who knows? It could be something completely different that's not even on our radar at this point. The way things happen and have been happening lately, it's just really hard to say. The next month or so, we could probably chop around here for a little bit. People get complacent again, and then something else happens, which will bring it down, I think, the rest of the way. This next event is, and I've said it a couple times, it's going to cause a lot of cascading liquidations, I think. So we'll have to see what that turns out to be. But, the Grayscale event could possibly do it. And, I think if that happens, I would really hope they would go OTC to sell those if they had to liquidate. But if they were to market sell, you could be looking at $9,000 to $7,000 Bitcoin. So
Man,
keep
yeah.
that in mind.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be. I know a lot of people want to buy at these prices for whatever it is you're involved in crypto, but I don't think we should necessarily be wishing for less than 10K because I really don't want to see 10K turn into resistance. That would, I think, turn this into possibly a much longer ordeal than it could be right now. Um, I'd rather 10K remain support, but I mean, we do have some room, I think, still to drop. We do have some other things that can still happen. But to me, and I agree with you, Ewok. Yeah, I do think we haven't seen the ultimate low yet. We won't know for sure when it's in for a few months, likely after the fact. But I am wondering what you think about, because it seems like one thing you did not mention there, and one thing that I think the veil is starting to lift on a little bit, is with how the Fed is treating these rate hikes, because I'm starting to think we may have seen the last of the 75 basis point rate hike. We do have the next FOMC meeting in mid-December, is the 13th and 14th. And for a while, I and some other people, for good reason, have been thinking that we're going to get another 75 rate hike. I don't know if that's the case now. We had, and I'd be lying if I said I looked way into this, but we had the Fed minutes come out today that apparently was kind of a dovish outlook that is leading more people to believe that they're getting a little bit afraid of continuing to ratchet up these interest rates and maybe tapering off a bit and going back to 50 and lower here over the next few months. How much do you think, regardless of what the Fed decision would be on the 14th of December, would impact this market right now at this late stage of the bear market compared to some of the other events you're talking about, Ewok? Because this Genesis thing and such a weird timeline of events where it was like, oh yeah, there's no issue at all, and like 1 week later, it's like we need billions of dollars. It's just funny how. I mean, FTX was a similar thing. It was
Yeah.
nothing really going on here. So yeah, my main question, I guess, is like, how much do you think the Fed at this point, which we've been hanging on their every damn word all year long in 2022 versus these other events, has much of an impact, I guess?
I really don't think the Fed does. A lot of things have come to light in the crypto space. You know, the price of Bitcoin and the rest of the markets are somewhat correlated, as we've seen. So as far as that goes, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't think the rate hikes are really affecting it as much as the other events that we're seeing. So, and I also, the last time I had said, I thought we might only get the 50 basis points and it was still 75. I honestly don't see him slowing down. I kind
Hmm.
of circle back on that opinion. I think we'll get another 75.
Mm.
So hopefully I'm wrong. We'll see we'll see how that plays out. But I don't know. I think the whole FTX saga is still not over. There's a lot of questions to be answered for. You know what really irritates me though is SBF is still running around. He's not in
Yeah.
jail yet where he should be. Um, and I think the one of the things that most upsets me is the Tornado Cash developer is still sitting in jail with no charges.
Right. Right.
There's
Yeah.
no formal charges been brought against this guy at all, and he's still sitting in jail. Meanwhile, SBF gets to run around like like a free citizen out there. It really just kind of shows you how corrupt things can really be.
Hmm.
Um, and we had said on the last show how deep this probably goes, along with the SEC folks and Gensler and
Hmm.
some of the other bigger characters that played a role kind of behind the scenes and getting him into that type of position, um, without proper experience and knowledge of really what he was even doing. So
And it's not even just him either. I mean, not just SBF. We talked about this too. I mean, all of these guys are running around. You know what I mean? Like Do Kwon, Suzu, or whatever. who I'm forgetting people, but yeah, all these guys are still running around. And I don't think any of them are going to see proper justice, you know. But that's one of those things that's like out of our control. Like at some point, and I think you do too, Ewok. I get sick of talking about those stories because, or as far as like the actual people involved, because it's just like, what can we as investors in this market really do about it? It sucks. Obviously, the main takeaway of the FTX thing and a lot of this other garbage this year is, like we've say until we're blue in the face, not your keys, not your coins. You don't associate with that kind of
Right.
stuff.
And that's all we can do is
Yeah.
preach, crypto. Guys, crypto is not broken.
Right. Right.
It's the centralized finance portion of crypto is where the problems are. And,
Mhm.
that's all we can do is preach where to steer the folks into the right places where, there is DeFi without admin keys, without counterparty risk, and you control your keys, you control your coins, you set the terms and your limits, and it's you. So
Right.
unless you're foolish with your seed words, you're going to be fine. So
That has been the big thing. Yeah, that's been my main takeaway over these last couple of weeks since the FTX thing is there's a lot of people that are, fair weather crypto people or legacy crypto people, or excuse me, legacy finance people that are talking about crypto being broken and we need massive regulation and all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, like maybe there is some regulation needed as far as these criminals that come in and mess up what is Bitcoin and what is crypto. There's nothing wrong, with Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with Ethereum. These things are operating on their own. It's these other people that come in that want to take money from you and extract money from a new market that are the criminals that are actually hurting and making people not want to be involved with this space. But that only goes so far. Like I get sick sometimes of, and again, yeah, SBF, all these people, terrible people, criminals, but we have to take responsibility. Like you just said, Ewok. Like at some point, it's like, look, we all are able to buy a Trezor. We all can buy a Ledger. We all can have your favorite hot wallet, a MetaMask or an Exodus or whatever. It is up to you to educate yourself on how to use this stuff and not be on these exchanges. And
yep.
until you understand that and stop treating them like a bank and trusting these charlatans that are literally coming into the space purposely to extract dumb money from dumb investors, you got to take ownership of it. And yeah, it's not our fault, but you have to take as much ownership of it as you can, or you're never going to move past it. You have to educate yourself.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your finances. All we can do is kind of point you in the right direction, but you have to do the right thing. So I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, how deep do you think this Genesis thing goes? So what is your understanding of Genesis, its relation to Gemini, the exchange run by the Winklevoss twins, or used to be, and now they're in like a cover band or whatever. Um,
Torn.
and yeah, and so what is the overarching company that owns both Genesis and actually, I guess the Grayscale fund? Is it DCG?
DCG, which is a digital currency group. They are the parent company of Genesis and Grayscale. Um, Genesis was so I don't know how they are actually tied to Gemini. I'm not overly sure, or if Gemini just used them as their like lending protocol. So I'm not sure how deep that goes. But what I do know is when Three Arrows Capital filed bankruptcy, um, uh, Genesis was on their investor group. And I believe that was what I have here, $1.2 billion. So they are a
Mm,
creditor of Three Arrows Capital. Now, in their bankruptcy proceedings, if they can get their money back, they're owed $1.2 billion, which
right.
would help, obviously. But, most people that go through these proceedings, they're getting 30, 40 cents on the dollar that they're owed. It's not going to be enough. So the other option then was to Somebody had mentioned they may have to liquidate their grayscale in order to settle the funds that they say that they really have, um, and that could get ugly too. So it's another one of those convoluted. Everybody's borrowing everybody else's money. They're investing in the same things with the same money. So
Right.
how many shell games can you play? Let's put it over here and invest, and then we'll move it over here and invest, and and it's all the same funds. So
Right. Um, I found I kind of echoed this a minute ago, and I put it in the chat on my channel here, and I'll put it in ours here for you to see, Ewok. But one of my favorite follows on crypto Twitter is Cred, who at Crypto Cred, who's a trader that's on the not up only, a podcast that I can't remember the name of right now. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. He tweeted the other day on the 21st of November, Genesis timeline. November 8th, no material net credit exposure. November 9th, we lost 7 million. November 10th, okay, we have 175 million locked in FTX. November 16th, sorry, no withdrawals or new loans. November 17th, okay, we need 1 billion.
Yep.
November 21st, we'll go bankrupt without the money. Yeah, over the course of not even 2 weeks. So,
yep.
yeah,
It happens fast, man. Like I said, and people get wise to it, so they start trying to pool funds when they can't get their money. Then they're raising red flags, and they don't go to, just they don't just go to Twitter and say, "Hey, I can't get my money out." They
right.
start really raising red flags to people who can, set off alarms, and it goes quickly. It's it's one of the funny things that I found of people calling Richard Hart a scammer. But where are the people that are yelling as loudly as these people that can't get their money?
Yeah.
If he really was, you would have heard about it by now. So that's just another testament to Richard Hart was right. Hashtag.
Well, and we're gonna get to Richard Hart and specifically Hex here soon. But yeah, there's no the Richard Hart thing is purely the way he acts. It has nothing to do with any actual
Oh,
thing
for
that's ever
sure.
happened in
Yeah,
crypto. So
for sure.
um yeah, so I mean, that's the not so rosy picture we think for the rest of the year in terms of crypto prices. It's rosy for you if you want to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever else you're into at possibly lower prices. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Ewok, because I threw a poll out there on my channel the other day that I was really interested by the results of this. But I asked what people thought the Ethereum low would ultimately be here for this bear market. Just overall, what do you think
Mhm.
the low will be? And basically gave options from $800 to $900, 7 to 8, 6 to 7, and then I think I went as low as 4 to 5 or something like that. And actually, $800 to $900 was the majority of the votes. In other words, to
Really?
me, yes. And in other words, that's where it's in already, or it could revisit because it dropped to about 875 back in June. And I thought that was really interesting. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of agree with it because um, first off, Ethereum has been performing really, really well here in relation to Bitcoin in the last couple of months or so, which in a bear market is something to say. Now, a lot of it was, we actually saw ETH from that 875 or so low 2x in the midst of this bear market because of the news of the merge. It was one of those buy the rumor, sell the news things. And obviously it's come down since then. But we see BTC at new lows somewhat significantly from the June lows, and ETH has only teetered around $1,000 so far. It hasn't even dropped below it again. So we haven't seen it go to 3 digits. So I asked you the same question. We talked about this slightly a couple of weeks ago, but I am interested in your thoughts. Like, do you think there is enough strength with ETH there now? And I'm not saying it's fake or that it's just living off of the pump from the merge. Ethereum is a better product now post merge. And there's other reasons for extra bullishness for ETH even down the road. I don't think it makes new lows. I'll say this. If it does, I don't think it's going to be by very much anyway. What do you think about this? I just think there's enough meat on the bone with ETH that you may not get those insane ETH prices that people were dreaming of.
I still think the low's gonna be somewhere between $500 and $700.
Okay.
I listen, when we haven't seen Max Payne yet, and when it
Yeah.
goes, it really goes, especially because, there's a ton of Bitcoin, Ethereum liquidity tied together. So when that falls, it's really going to pull it down with it. It's one of those things where they are truly tied to the pairs of their liquidity. Now, yes, there's a lot of other things tied to Ethereum's liquidity, but they almost always have a Bitcoin pair too.
Hmm.
So it kind of it will pull the whole market down with it, and I really think around $600 is probably going to be our target for a low.
Yeah, I could see the upper end of that estimate. I could definitely see it going into the 700s or so. It's just that there's been so much positivity and higher price action on ETH, but it's going to be interesting either way. And we will see. I do think December there's going to be a lot of volatility because of all these things that we're talking about, possibly even into January as well. Which actually leads me. I want you to talk about something we were talking a little bit about before the show, and you were mentioning like previous bear markets and the amount of days. That they lasted essentially, and where that may put us for this bear market, and kind of comparing and contrasting past bear markets, which I think is definitely useful to do. It doesn't mean that you or I or anybody else is saying that this has to mirror every past bear market. We
Right.
are seeing Bitcoin and the crypto space mature, obviously, every 4-year cycle. And Bitcoin will make lesser and lesser and lesser gains, obviously, as time goes on. But yeah, I want to hear this data again to kind of see what we've seen in the past, if you have it there.
So I heard somebody comparing something to the halvening
Mm.
relative to the previous market bottom. So in 2012, the previous market bottom was November 2nd of 2011, which was 373 days. The next halvening was in 2016, and the previous bottom before that was July 9th, 2016, with the bottom being January 14th of 2015, which was 542 days. The last one, the halvening, was May 11th of 2021, and that was the halvening. And then the bottom was March 13th of 2020, which was 424 days. So I just took the average of those three markets, and um, it came to 446 days. So the anticipated halvening date is March 24th of 2024, which puts our 446 days at January 3rd of 2023.
Hmm.
Someone needs to ban these guys.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
taking
getting
care of it right
irritated.
now.
Jesus
uh,
Christ.
yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, that
So
was getting a
anyway,
little extreme.
so January 3rd of 2023, which, give or take, I don't know, 30 days in either side. We could be in December, we could be in February, but it gives you a ballpark, of where the bottom will actually be. And it's an interesting statistic how it plays out. It's pretty close, give or take 100 days,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah.
I thought it was
And
cool.
that's a narrow enough amount of time, I think. There's enough margin for error there. And yeah, I mean, like we were kind of thinking this month is when the ultimate low would be. I mean, yeah, I could certainly see it not coming until January or something like that. Um, I think it's safe to say I would be surprised. Actually, I'd be borderline. I'd be shocked. I will actually say if we don't, if the low somehow is not in the first quarter of 2023. I would be concerned about where the space is and where the market is if we are hitting new lows in April of next year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That should be, I think, most of 2023, I think, should be where we're like consolidating in this kind of really boring, crappy area. And, at least, although it's been all negative action the last few weeks, at least there was action, I guess, because
Right.
what I'm thinking in 2023 is that there won't be a lot, maybe until like quarter 3 or 4 next year.
Well, there's some possibility of some exciting things coming too with being Pulse Chain. You
Well,
know,
yeah.
if we get that, it could make it exciting for us at the bottom of the bottom of the market and have something brand new to play around with and excitement around crypto again. But
Mhm.
traditionally, the bottom of the market does chop around for a while before it does start the uptick toward the all-time highs again. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy next few weeks. It already has been. November has definitely been, well, I don't want to say definitely. It's been one of the most volatile months of this year. And, certainly probably the biggest capitulation event yet, anyway, for crypto in this bear market. But that leads me to, I want to ask you a little bit about this, Ewok. We talk every now and then as far as different kind of DCA strategies whenever you're trying to get into the market. You have been a big advocate of setting limit orders and things like that. I want to throw three scenarios at you right now for, different people that are involved or want to be involved with the crypto market, especially now that we are here at essentially brand new lows for this year and within possible striking distance. I mean, we're close enough right now that it's like if you're not in the market at all and you're just sitting on your hands, I would be getting involved in some way. I mean, to me, it's just low enough now where it's like the downside risk compared to the upside reward is just outweighed by the upside reward. But I want to throw a few different scenarios at you as far as different people that could be involved in this market. You tell me what you may do as each one of these people. So, um, let's say if you're what I just mentioned, if you are not in this market at all, now this is the minority out of the three categories I'm going to list. Not many people are coming to crypto right now, obviously. This is when everybody is flocked away, and they'll be here in like, I don't know, midway through 2024 again or something like that. But
yeah,
if you're
when the
not in the
prices are
market,
all going up to all-time highs, and that's when they
yes,
get in, and
yes.
unfortunately, that's backwards. But yes, go ahead. Sorry.
It's the way the world goes round.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think if you are not involved in the market at all right now? And I just saw a comment from our friend Andrew earlier about how he popped his Hex cherry earlier. So there's an example of somebody who wasn't in at least the Hex ecosystem that now is. So there are people out here like that.
Mhm.
But if you're sitting there right now with some dry powder, even if it's just a little, and you're like, I want to get into this market, how would you be scaling in? I mean, would you not even be buying anything yet at this point? And I'm not telling you to tell people what to buy necessarily, because I could guess the answer.
Right.
But how methodically do you think you would be getting into the market at this juncture as we sit here right now, Wednesday, November 23rd? Um, how would you be scaling into the market right now if you weren't in it at all?
If I wasn't in it all and got lucky enough to be part of the really close to the bottom, um, I think, well, personally, I know, well, I don't know for sure, but we think the bottom hasn't come yet.
Right.
So if I'm dealing with my own funds, I'm not buying yet. I am setting limit orders. Like I said, that's, I still think, one of the best entry points. Not to mention, if you're setting limit orders on a decentralized exchange, you're not paying fees. The the other person is the one that's selling and paying the fees for you. So another added bonus to actually get your price target hit even better.
Hmm.
Um, yes, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to hurt to get in slowly into these areas as long as you save some powder, because we do think it is going to go lower.
Hmm.
Um, so just don't do it all at once, or you'll kick yourself when it does go down. It's good to stagger your way in, and at the same time, on the other side of that, it's to stagger your way out. You want to
Hmm.
get in and out the same methodology. You stagger your way into a market, and if it's going down, you buy a little more. If it goes down again, you keep buying more. That will guarantee that your average buy-in price keeps getting lower and lower. So when it does go up, you have a lot lower of a price target to hit to break even.
Hmm.
Um, and then on your way out, as it goes up to a certain point, once you determine what that is, set some limit orders to get out. And, obviously you want to get your initial investment out and then let the rest of it go, or take, you know, stared profits at different levels. So
Right.
that's what I
And
would be doing.
that's even another conversation for another show. We definitely, and I think we've actually talked about this before, that not really a point doing it in the bear market, but we should have a show kind of dedicated to taking profits and the way to do it, I think, for sure. Because believe it or not, as much as you're hodling out there, it's okay to take profits every now and then,
Sure.
contrary to what some people may say. But yeah, so I agree with you. And I will say firmly that even though I do agree that I don't think we've seen the bottoms yet, I think you have to be getting into this market right now. It's just like I said, the downside risk is just too little compared to the upside reward. There are people out there that are very smart, regardless of whether you agree with them or disagree with them, that didn't think we'd ever go below 20K BTC again, by the time this bear market rolled around. So
Yeah.
we're there. We're at least halfway between there and what could be the ultimate lows. So to me, I would be wanting to get in. But what would you say to the person who might be the same answer? It would be for me, I think, but is mostly into the market at this point that has some dry powder on the side, that's mostly invested. Would you, because they're already pretty rooted into the market, just say, wait until you feel it's been a mass capitulation? Is there a certain price target you would wait for? Or something that I see some people say a lot too, this is more from the trader side of things, and I think that there is merit to this. Instead of trying to catch a falling knife, why not wait for a trend reversal? Like wait until now. You may be waiting deep into 2023 or so, or at least a bit of a ways into it. But why not wait until we have confirmation that suddenly we are beating like the 200 day or 200 week SMA again or something like that, and really looks like we're starting to go on an uptrend and then get into the market? What kind of idea would you have for somebody who's in but still has some dry powder?
Well, I think you could miss the ultimate bottom if you do that. But you're not
Right.
going to, like you said, catch the falling knife and continue to have to buy lower and lower and lower to, bring your average cost down. I don't know. I think, like I said, it's ultimately everybody's different. I, I like I said personally, I would still be waiting.
Yeah.
I think we're going lower. Many people think we're going lower. How low that is, that's a good question. What if we get to 10K and say, all right, is this it? Is you know, then it becomes really interesting. What do you do then?
Right.
Because more events could happen to send it to 7.
Yeah.
I think there is, definitely, this person said it here, more red coming for sure.
Right.
So I think it's going to get lower. I think if you're patient and can wait it out, then you're going to get a much better buying opportunity then, especially if we're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yes.
As far as Hex goes, um, I don't know how much lower it's going to go, but it could chop around down to 2 cents, I think. But 2 cents, 3 cents, really, what's the big? Not much difference if it gets to a dollar, other
Right.
than
Yeah.
a you know what you've got a 50x compared to a 33x. So
Right.
actually, it is a lot when you
It
think
is, yeah,
about
I
it.
was gonna say it can be impactful because even taking profits on the way up, where it's like, man, if I had a 2 cent order as opposed to a 3 cent order, like that. For those people that maybe just want to like take profits by selling the initial investment or something. For example, when Hex did make a nice pump up to 5 cents there a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
I was waiting to see if it would test 6 because I had a lot of buys at 3. Like, I mean, we've been sitting at 3 and stuff for so long. I was like, oh man, I wonder if I'll get a 2x here, and it didn't quite make it. So yeah, you're right. I mean, like it can be impactful even with that, little bit there to take profits on the way up. But
Yep.
I think the worst position to be, well, I really believe the worst position to be in, and I ran another poll today. We're going to get into Hex in a minute here, and again, the thumbnail of this stream has been, is it time to start really buying Hex seriously? But I had to pull out there today about how many people are in the situation of having no dry powder, basically, and just sitting, having to just sit where they are and watch these prices. And a significant amount of people said that that was the position that they were in. I think it was like 15 to 20% of people. So, what about that person? And there isn't, obviously, I think the action to take is nothing. You don't want to be doing anything if somehow you don't have any dry powder to put into this market. And you're just sitting here like, oh my God, like I'm so far down. Really, then it turns into a mental game, and that's a game that a lot of us have been playing the majority of this year. But what about that Ewok? Like, again, I don't know how many tips there are as far as things to really take action and do. But psychologically, how do you handle continuing to see these prices fall into these areas if you are just sitting there with no dry powder? Um, you know, what do you
I
do?
think there's an easy answer for that.
Mhm.
Get a job.
Yeah.
You
Or
know,
learn how to save money in
yeah,
some way.
save
Yeah.
money, do something, cut something out of your life where you can put aside some cash.
Right.
Um, you know, there's a bunch of side hustles. There's ways to make money on the internet. There's all kind of
Especially now.
things out there. Yeah, like you can do tons and tons of things that will generate you, even if it's 100, $200 a month. That could be very impactful
Mhm.
in 5 7 years. You just never know. But yeah, if you're sitting there beating yourself up because you don't have dry powder, do something about it.
Right.
Otherwise, get out of the market. Like you don't belong here. Otherwise, you're just going to give yourself mental grief that you don't really need.
Right.
So I mean, that's one of there's only two answers: get a job or leave the market.
Right. Right.
So I don't. I think it's pretty. That's probably the easiest answer or easiest question of the three situations that you presented to me.
And let it be a lesson too, if you're feeling that and feeling the capitulation right now, to make sure you always have dry powder. It can be really tempting when we get down to these prices just to be like, "Oh, dude, I'm throwing the rest of the bag I have left in." I would always keep something on the side, and if you have to get so deliberate about it that you actually consider it like part of your portfolio, like just have dirty fiat off to the side and say, "Hey, at all times I'm going to have 10%, 5% in fiat just
Yeah,
off
just in
waiting for
case.
opportunities."
You
Yeah.
never know. You never
Mhm.
know what may present itself. You also
Yeah.
never know when you may need it. If you're
Yeah.
investing heavily in the market and your car breaks down, it doesn't hurt. That way you're not putting stuff on credit card that you then have to pay later or whatever it may be.
Right. Well,
So
I wasn't even considering that. Like to me, it's like, well, I was assuming that this individual, and maybe you're right, maybe this individual is dumber than I assumed. But yeah, you should have at all times, I think, some kind of an emergency fund that's going to cover you for like 3 to 6 months or something like that. You should always obviously have liquid cash somewhere, I think. But
yeah. And
then I think have another account that's your dry powder for crypto.
sure. And something else you can do too is if you speaking of credit cards, if you can find a credit card that gives you 1 or 2% back,
Yeah.
and you're going to pay the bills anyway, pay your bills with the credit card, earn that 1%, 2%, whatever it might be, and put that into crypto. Like, and then
Yeah.
just pay off your credit card every month so you're not paying the interest. But I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can make little bits of money that will in fact, y- you know, turn out great for you in the long run. You just got to be smart about it.
Yeah, and we actually talked about that idea a few weeks ago, the different ways of leveraging credit cards to give yourself more money and more dry
Mhm.
powder. And there is a spoiler alert video coming out on the Broke Boy Crypto YouTube channel here in a few weeks about said topic. So,
Nice.
yeah, an underrated way I think to build up some dry powder on the side. So,
Yeah. Awesome.
um, yeah, so those are kind of just three scenarios I wanted to go over because we are at prices where it's like, you want to be buying obviously right now. So have restraint, even if you do have dry powder on the side. Um, to me, this all comes down to really knowing yourself, knowing your emotions, your psychology, and how you think you're going to react to all this. If I hadn't DCA'd here and there over the last 2 months or so, which is really, I think, when mine kind of ratcheted up a little bit, um, I would feel like, well, maybe now I wouldn't feel so bad because now we're like at brand new lows. But I at times would have felt like, what do I do here? Like I got to be getting into this market. So just know yourself. Just know how you're going to react. And something that I have also learned is I really do hate the thing we just talked about a moment ago, not having that dry powder on the side to take advantage of these little things that can pop up here and there. So for me, it takes a lot of restraint for me. Like when we start to go back up into an uptrend, I I am gonna feel like, I want all my dry powder spent at that point, and then there's gonna be like another dip down that I won't be able to take advantage of. So you just have to know like your own psychology when it comes to this kind of stuff, I think. So
Yep, for sure.
yeah.
So
I want to ask you. Well, go ahead. Did you have one other point on that?
well, I wanted to go back to Crypto Honesty's question earlier before
Oh
we
yeah,
forget about it.
yeah. Go ahead.
Were you done with that topic? I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
want
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
to. So he says, "What do you think of Hexray Vision as new token for freedom and to close the loop on the ROH ecosystem?" So the only token that I'm aware of that deals with freedom is the Texan token. I don't know if that's the same token or not that you're speaking of. That was
I don't.
Heartbeat and um, why am I drawing a blank?
Oh shoot, I am too. Actually, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Sunglasses
yeah.
guy.
Sunglasses don't subscribe. That's
Yeah,
uh, I can't
I'm
remember.
forgetting it too. Rags to riches.
Rags to riches, yes,
There you go.
Brandon.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I could think of Brandon, but I couldn't think of Rags to riches. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's the only token that I'm aware of, and you know, I don't really want to speculate on what this may be. I'll look into it on my own. Everybody else should do the same thing, but um,
Well, I'm pretty sure Crypto Honesty's joking with whatever he's talking about here. But hence the LOL at the end. But
well, maybe. I'm not. Again, I'm not
I don't know
sure.
if that's what he's talking about or not, though. I'm not sure if he's talking about the Texan thing or not. But
Not sure.
yeah. But it is a good lead into the last thing that we were going to talk about here, and that is the fact that Hex is trading now consistently. It looks like below 3 cents, which we haven't seen. We've seen it here in this bear market, but we haven't seen this. It's been days now where you've been able to get Hex between 2.5 and 3 cents. So one of the best, you know, buys that we have seen on Hex here in a while. Same with Hedron. If you're into the Hex ecosystem, which I assume if you're into Hex, you probably are. Hedron's been insane prices lately. I know you're not into really buying it at the moment, Ewok, but for anybody that is interested, it dropped to even below the 5 zeros and a 2 mark yesterday. It was down to the low 1.9s actually. So it has been an interesting time if you are not into Hex, just like Andrew said a little bit ago, popping the Hex cherry here lately, to get into it, for sure. So I want to ask you, Ewok, because we have been, unlike Bitcoin with Hex, we've been saying that we thought that the bottom was likely in. Now apparently it did wick down to 1.8 cents at one time. I didn't see that. I don't know when it happened, but apparently it did.
It
But
was
we
quick.
are now, yeah,
It was
I'm
a quick
sure.
one.
I'm sure. But yeah, now we are seeing lots of opportunity to buy under 3 cents. We weren't, regardless of what you want to call the bottom, we haven't seen this for this long in this bear market before. So what do you think right now? Are you aping in? What do you think about this Hex price and where it's going to go in the next few weeks?
Well, for me, I'm telling friends as much as I can to be buying now. I got caught the last time with the market going up and talking about it so much, and a few people did start buying in on the way up to the top, and I did feel bad, and I don't want to feel bad. I want to feel good about telling people to get in now while it's
Mhm.
low, so that they can reap the rewards and feel what we all felt as it went up on the last bull run. So yeah, I'm definitely telling people now is the time to be getting in. Um, Again, not financial advice. They're the one pressing the button.
Right.
But my suggestion is this is a wonderful opportunity to get something that provides yield. And that's one of the other things. I kind of want to circle back to the you know selling some as well. It's one of the benefits of Hex is where you can have a staking ladder, sell the interest, not feel bad about it, restake your principal, and you're constantly generating more um, every cycle. So it's
Mhm.
not like you've got a bag, it's not earning more, and as you sell it, you have less and less and less. The nice thing about Hex is, you're earning yield the longer you stake out. And if you can do a nice ladder, you will always have that residual stake that's coming out, whether you do it yearly, monthly, quarterly, every 2 years, however you want to do it. Um, but it's a nice way to cost out as well. So
Right.
I wanted to touch on that as well.
Right. Yeah. I do think we could see the hex price go lower. I think you would know better than me, Ewok, but I think there's a decent amount of support historically at 2.5 cents. Actually, if you want to bring the chart up, if you have it handy, you can obviously go ahead and do that. But I think there's a decent amount of support there, and yeah, it's obviously a great time to get in. I want to ask you because, and this may be saved for another full blown episode, but you just talked about hex stakes and how you can take advantage of profits and stuff. Um, what do you personally recommend? And I know there's lots of schools of thought on this, but what do you recommend in terms of, let's say you have your hex bag, however many hex it may be. What percentage of your total hex bag do you recommend having staked? Or do you again, there's what you would do and what you may recommend, not financial advice, obviously, to somebody else. Um, what is your take on that? There are people out there that think it should be like 50-50. There are people that are almost entirely staked out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, me personally, I'm 90, anywhere between 95 to 99, depending on what I have, you know, coming out. I was kind of foolish at the beginning because I didn't understand it. And I
Mhm.
did a lot of silly stakes that just,
I think a lot of people could say that
well, that
probably.
didn't make sense. And the other thing with that is that we didn't know what the prices of Ethereum would be during that bull market either.
Mhm.
Um, to then incur all the extra gas fees.
Right.
So I spent a ton of money on gas fees because didn't realize it would cost me $1,200 to $1,400 to end a stake, and it happened. So
Mhm.
it's something that I was had to rework my ladder so that things were not coming out quite that often. Um, it just didn't make sense. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, it's all personal preference. It's how much you have and how much you can get your hands on. Um, Obviously, if you don't have a lot, then you usually need to go out longer in order to get the kind of yield that you're probably looking for in order to make up for the gas fees during a bull market. You know, keep in mind, you're going to get a copy though on Pulse Chain where it will be cheap for at
Yeah.
least several years, and hopefully we can reach some parity as far as price goes. So that could take a little bit of time too, but you are going to get a copy, so that's another bonus. And if you're not sure, we've always said if you're not sure what to buy right now, um, especially with Pulse Chain coming. Do I hold some dry powder and wait for that? I still say the right purchase is Hex,
Yeah.
because you can then, once you get your copy, do whatever you want with it, and obtain your Pulse or Pulse X or whatever else you want on that chain using the free copy. So, I still stick by that, that strategy for that.
Yeah, and you are right. It's definitely personal preference. Like, actually, it's kind of similar to that dry powder thing we were just talking about a little bit ago.
Mhm.
Like, I would rather have more liquid hex, because hex obviously, and maybe is even one of the best. It's going to appreciate crazily, we believe, like a lot of other volatile cryptocurrencies. It already
Yeah.
has done a 10,000x. And I also would like to take advantage of those taking profits and then buying back down lower again, So,
Yeah, but I also want to save myself from myself. I don't want to have
yeah,
too much available and have a nice juicy price looking at me, and then, sell a bunch and then have it continue to go up another dollar. you
right,
know.
right.
So you got to kind of you know, save yourself from yourself as well.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of staking. That's why I think it really comes back to that dry powder argument. It's just like know your psychology, know your emotions, and it's not really a one size fits all type of thing. But you do have the hex chart pulled up here, so yeah, let's look at that 2 to 3 cent area here, just kind of historically, and see what we've got. I mean, it's not even like we've dropped significantly lower of all this consolidating we've had in this bear market at 3 cents. So I don't think there's reason to worry or get overly excited about what ultimate prices could be. But
No, I don't either.
what are you
I don't
thinking?
either. I don't either. Like I said, there's a lot of support. There's a lot of buy orders. There's limit orders that are set down in these areas, and that's why you saw this candle was one big sell. I think the guy sold 20 million in one dump,
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
which sent the price down. But as you can see, it got bought up really quickly on
Right.
that one. So it says here that the low was only 0.021, but I know there were orders that were filled on this is Uniswap V2.
Mm.
There
Oh, okay.
were V3 orders that are the ones that filled down at the 1.7 or 1 point whatever it was, that
Right.
area. So
Right.
yeah, I mean you're seeing a lot of chop. You know, you get a little run up to that 5 cent level and then it sold off. You know, I think you're going to see it chop around in here. We could go a hair lower. I don't see it going too much lower. Like I said, with the amount of buy orders that are set down here, there's a pretty healthy sell wall. So
Yeah.
I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, at the same time, I mean, this is where if you are DCing or have been DCing into Hex, which I think is a little bit of a different conversation than if you've been DCing elsewhere in this market, just because it has been just pegged right around that 3 to 3.5 cents for quite a while here. So you had so many opportunities to do it. But I do think right now, it would be wise if you can to maybe up those DCA orders by 25 to 50% or so, just with this drop if you've got it to do. Um, because if we would drop at all below 2 cents again, I don't think it's going to be for very long.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I answered, I guess Stizzy Jones there a little bit ago, but yeah, I personally am interested in both Ethereum and Hex here for the
Well,
rest of
yeah,
the bear market. But
I think it's a good time, you know, once we get some lower prices to acquire some Ethereum as well. You're gonna need it to transact in the future, and you know,
mm,
if you can time it to get some at the bottom of the market, that's the best time to hold on to it, so that you do have that gas fee later when the prices go up. It's not near as painful if you have some sitting on the side, but you know,
well,
I,
not only that, but I do think that, and I know this isn't necessarily your goal, Ewok, but I do think that if you're buying Ethereum to hold Ethereum also, if you are maybe somebody who's like a little bit more risk averse and really wants that anchor of your portfolio in Ethereum, which I am a fan of doing, I think that, I mean, it's going to outperform Bitcoin by a lot, I think.
oh
And
yeah.
I think once price turns around, I think Ethereum is going to really melt people's faces. I think there's gonna be
Um,
a great period for Ethereum.
I think so too. And even our fearless leader, Richard Hart, said that he thinks that Ethereum will flip Bitcoin on this cycle,
Yeah.
as far as market cap goes, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, not a lot, but yeah, I've heard that from a couple people, and yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, I do think between those two, between Bitcoin and Ethereum, ETH is definitely the one to hold at this point. Um, oh, go ahead. Yeah, if you want to Ewok,
So
talk a little bit more about Paul's chain too.
yeah, I do want to touch on this. So the free copy is essentially when the fork happens. So Pulse Chain will be a fork of Ethereum. So any ERC20 token that you hold on the Ethereum network, you're going to get a copy of when Pulse Chain actually launches. So that means um, all of your like your Maddox and your I don't even know. There's so many of them out there. Your Shiba Inu and all of those coins, you're gonna get, you know, another equal representation on Pulse Chain. Now we know because Richard Hart is designing this that that Hex will be overly supported. I should say that's the best way to look at it, and I think there will be proper liquidity for that one. As far as the other coins that you're going to get a copy of, who knows what kind of support they will have from their community.
Right.
Obviously, if the prices of the Gwei and Ethereum go back up to where it becomes unmanageable again, they're going to have all their coins over on that network to go play essentially cost free. So
Hmm.
I think it may take a while to get some of that support into Pulse Chain from those groups, but I do think it'll happen as the prices go back up, and again the transaction fees become unmanageable. I think it will take a little bit of time, but you'll see people slowly start to work their way over there as well. So I
Yeah,
hope that answers. But he says why? I'm not sure. Can you why? Why?
that's what we all want to know, Andrew, about
Why?
everything. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm interested in the fact that like Pulse Chain is really created specifically for ETH gas fees to be lower for Hex stakes.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
obviously, it's not just for that, but it makes me interested because it is something that's Richard Hart Hex centric. How much other action will there actually be on that chain? Do you think Jack Levin puts Zen on the Pulse Chain? Actually, I
It
think
will.
he already has talked about it, but
Well, it'll be there. It'll be a
yeah,
copy.
yeah,
It's already
yeah.
on
Oh, yeah, it's
Ethereum,
already
so
gonna be there. Yeah, never
it'll
mind.
be there. So
Yeah.
anything you have, again, anything you have on Ethereum, will be copied over to Pulse Chain when the snapshot or when the fork happens. The
Mhm.
fork and the snapshot are essentially the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a certain block height where it splits. So the exact value representation in coins, not dollars, but in coins, will be it'll be mirrored over to Pulse Chain. So
Right.
the only thing that will be different will be the Ethereum. You're going to get one Pulse Chain for every Ethereum that you have. Now,
Right.
because the value is going to be so out of whack on those, it's not going to be beneficial to buy Ethereum so that you get that copy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you buy Hex, it will definitely find parity much quicker. If you have let's say a $700 Ethereum at that point in time, and you have a 0.00001 cent pulse, you're not gonna it's gonna take a while
It's
for
gonna be
that
kind of,
to, yeah,
yeah.
to reach
Yeah.
parity. And that's why I say, Hex is probably going to have the most support, therefore you'll have the quickest parity from what you buy and get the free copy of as far as value goes.
Yeah, really the best thing to do, it is a game theory thing like everything when it comes to Hex, but like you just illustrated it, Ewok. Like you could then say to yourself, "Well, I'll just keep dry powder and buy some Pulse whenever it comes out." Well, actually, probably the better play would be to buy Hex now because
Yeah,
you're going to get a copy. Then, if you want to sell some of your Hex and keep it liquid, obviously, but if you want to sell then some of your Hex on the Pulse chain or convert it into Pulse
right.
via the Pulse X thing,
And
there you go.
And there's another problem with that theory about holding dry powder. How are you going to get it over there?
Mhm.
Because if it's in USDC, we don't know that USDC will hold a dollar peg. We don't think
Right,
it will.
right.
Chances are it's not going to, and Circle could totally invalidate all those coins.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think they'll do that, but if you go to the ETH POW fork that happened, you'll see that the value over there of USDC was fractions of a penny.
Oh, wow, I
Um,
didn't know that. Okay.
so yeah, you're
Yeah.
not getting anywhere near your dollar one-to-one value as far, and it may be maybe not fractions of a penny, but definitely
Well, anything less than
cents.
a dollar is bad. Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
So I wouldn't say I wouldn't say USDC would be a good play either, because the bridges aren't going to be active for probably at least 24 to 48 hours, or so we've been told anyway.
Mhm.
Richard seems to think that it's better that we launch the chain with everything at a zero value, as far as
Yeah,
taxes are concerned, where there is no value of anything. There are only ratios being traded. And in order to do any kind of ratio trading, um, you're going to have something that's already on that chain. And again, we circle back to Hex having the most value at that point. So
right.
hopefully that closes out that theory a little bit too.
Yeah, definitely to interact with Pulse Chain and do whatever you want to do if you want. If you did not sacrifice for Pulse Chain, if you did not sacrifice for Pulse X, which, hey, we're late enough after these things that listeners and viewers may not have been able to sacrifice for either at this point. I mean, we're almost a year removed from the Pulse X sacrifice now. So, yeah, the move is to buy Hex. And as we're both talking about doing, we're both interested in doing right now, is the thumbnail of the podcast. And yeah, it's a good time to do so. Not financial advice, but if you're interested in Hex, you like what you see, we talk about a lot here. It's a good time to get involved price wise, I think. So, anything else on that point, Ewok, before we wrap things up here for the evening?
I don't think so. Other than, kind of circle back to my original comment, is that centralized finance. Just remember that's what's broken.
Yes.
And the more we can get people into the right type of spaces, the happier and smoother things are going to be. People are not going to be taken to the cleaners with losing all their money like they are if you leave it on a centralized finance. It's just not good. Um,
Yeah.
We call that safe sex, CEX.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stay out of them.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. So
DeFi is definitely the way. Yeah. Any way that you can avoid exchanges at all costs, or get in and get out, like we've talked about in the past, you definitely want to take that practice. So, Ewok, before we wrap it up, let everybody know where they can find you and what your favorite dish during Thanksgiving is. Let's
oh,
add
good
that in.
question. I'll have to think about that. You can find me Crypto Ewok on YouTube and Twitter. If you guys like what you're seeing, give us both a follow on both of our channels. We do broadcast this on both of our channels simultaneously. We all have a little bit different of an audience. Like to get the word out to everybody, so please follow us both. Like, subscribe, click the bell notification, and I'm really a big fan of the turkey, the turkey and the
It's a boring
stuffing.
answer, but
I
okay.
stuff the turkey itself. Some people aren't a fan of the wet stuffing, but
Oh, I
that's
like
one
it
of
that way.
that's
Yeah, I
one
like
of
it.
my favorite things. The turkey and the stuffing that's inside. So
Yes, combine. There is nothing like, well, Thanksgiving. There's a lot of people out there that like to just combine everything on the plate and get just a nice bite of it all.
oh yeah.
Um, I do. There's nothing like turkey stuffing, some gravy on it, all in one bite. That's very good. Man, it's so hard. I mean, what I just said is probably my favorite thing to do. But if I had to pick one part of the entire dish, now it's not there every year. It's up to whoever decides to possibly make it. But I'm a big fan of green bean casserole. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
ever had that.
I
You put
have.
in like the cream of mushroom and stuff like that,
Yep.
and
We'll be having that as well.
fried onions. Yeah, I
Mhm.
absolutely love that stuff. And I treat it. I actually I like to save the thing I'm most hungry for until after I eat the majority of the whatever's on my plate. So I'll eat all
Okay.
that other good stuff we talked about, all the meat and potatoes first, and then that's like my little dessert on the primary plate there. So
Nice. I call mine cornado. So I take the mashed potatoes and put a little stuffing in there, put a little corn in there, and then
okay,
make a little
okay,
crater, make a crater, and then fill it all up with all the stuff and gravy. Um, delicious,
right there.
delicious. It's
Yeah,
a heart
there you go.
stopper.
Yeah, it is, but you need a couple of those every year, I think. So
Yeah, you got to treat yourself.
yeah. So yeah, you can also follow me on YouTube and Twitter at Broke Boy Crypto, BOI Crypto. Yeah, sub, like, whatever you want to do. A lot of videos coming out every single day. We're gonna have some interesting stuff coming out the rest of this week. We don't take any days off on the channel, so there will always be some content out there for you guys. And yeah, we're heading in towards the last part of 2022. Lots of interesting things and probably weird price action to come. You never know what is going to happen in this market, but we will see you all next Wednesday, the 30th of November, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for Crypto Ewok, we will catch you next week on the Creed of Crypto podcast.